This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. Lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles podcast, presents EnergyForce Series, Season 7, Part 9. My name is Daniel Smrokowski. I'm the founder of Special Chronicles, an EnergyForce ambassador with ComEd, and a Southern Travel Global Ambassador alum with Special Olympics. Our website, specialchronicles.com, to follow Special Chronicles on socials and wherever you get podcasts. This week on Special Chronicles presents EnergyForce Series Season 7, Part 9. Our topic is the ComEd Smart Grid, and our guests are Chris, the Senior Business Program Manager at ComEd, and Querida, the Principal Program Manager for Smart Grid Programs from ComEd, are our guests this week as we talk all about the ComEd Smart Grid, how it benefits you, the customer, and community of the future programs. So please put your virtual hands together as we welcome Querida and Chris on the Special Chronicles podcast. Welcome. Good to have you both on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And
thank you for having us, Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a topic that, if our listeners and you guys had just in the pre-show before we started recording, you had asked, well, how to listen to our EnergyForce series, and so we probably should tell more people about this QR code that they can scan if you're watching the video podcasts on our YouTube channel. You can scan this right now if you're watching it on your TV or your computer. We haven't figured out how to scan QR codes if you're watching on your phone. But with that, I say that you had one of the previous episodes of this series. It might have been the last episode of the series. I mean, the episode before this episode is airing, I think, and I forgot exactly, but it was about the education centers. And I think on that episode, and maybe also a previous one, but we had briefly mentioned the smart grid, but didn't get into a lot of detail. So that's what I'm glad that we'll have you both on to tell us about that. But before we get into that, why don't you both tell us about your role at ComEd? We'll start with ladies first. So Querida, we'll start with you, and then we'll pass it all over to Chris.
Sure. Thanks, Daniel. My name is Querida Ellis. I work at ComEd in our Smart Grid Programs Department, and I'm a Principal Business Program Manager. And essentially what that means, and we're going to talk a little bit about what the smart grid is, but we're trying to figure out new ways for the electrical system to work. And so in our department, we run a lot of pilot programs to figure out what's going to work, what doesn't work, what's the best way of doing it. And in particular, in our department, we also go out into the community to find out what our community partners need, like the residents, the businesses, everyone who is going to be subject to these changes that we make to the grid, to make sure that they are being heard and that we're not executing programs that have no value to them. And so for a lot of these pilot programs, a lot of these initiatives, I'm the person who brings people together so that we can figure out the best way to do it. And I'll pass it over to Chris.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Querida. And thank you, Daniel, again for the invitation. My job is currently to work within our Community of the Future footprint. So ComEd has designated the city of Rockford as well as the neighborhood of Bronzeville, which is just south of like the McCormick Place and before you get to Hyde Park. and within that footprint. And we work with the community leaders, community stakeholders to promote different ComEd offerings, such as rebates and incentives. We let them know about what's coming up, what we're planning. We also do some demonstration projects where we have kiosks and agricultural pods and different really cool technologies that we place into the community for the benefit of that community. And then we work with those stakeholders to inform them about ComEd things, but then we also learn about their initiatives and goals and bring them to ComEd and connect them with people internally so that they can achieve their goals within the electrification space. And then I also get to run some cool pilot programs too that we'll talk about that are really cool that are potentially launching very soon. So we'll see some of these pilots finally get to life and start enjoying the benefits of some of the electrification pilots we're working on.
Awesome. So I'm excited to dive into all of that about the smart grid programs as well as these pilot programs, and maybe I'm sure even hopefully giving our listeners perhaps an exclusive first look at some of these pilot programs. And so after a quick break, we'll be back with Querida and Chris as we dive into the smart grid and the pilot programs. I'm coming up right here on Special Chronicles presents EnergyForce Series Season 7 right here on SpecialChronicles.com. And with that, support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. Please join our supporters with a monthly or one-time donations. We can operate our studio and continue our mission, giving respect and voice to those of us with disabilities. If you want to join Special Chronicles Plus to access our exclusive bonus content and the pre-show of what it was like to get the recording set up today, and we break down that fourth wall of the studio. You can join right now, specialchronicles.com/plus. It's very simple. Just head over to specialchronicles.com/plus. Type your name and email and a simple $10 a month and up, or just a one-time donation of even just $1 is any bit helps. Very, very simple. I want to let you and all of our listeners know that this morning it's only been a couple of months that we have this new bonus content available, and I just myself tested it out with a donation to. I know I'm the host and founder of this podcast platform and this program, but I myself just also have donated, and so it definitely works. But if you have any questions, you guys can reach out to us. There's a contact page on specialchronicles.com. And with that, hopefully my video is not frozen. But with that, Querida and Chris, as we dive into the ComEd Smart Grid, can you tell us a little bit about what is the ComEd Smart Grid?
Awesome, great question. So the smart grid is our electrical system where you receive your power, but it has really cool digital technologies that help the system to communicate when there are problems, when there's potential outages. And it also is awesome because it can reroute power from one substation to another so that outages don't occur as long as they may have done in the past. So we have smart substations, smart switches, and at each home you now have a smart meter. So if you go outside, you'll see a little plastic casing with a smart meter that helps you to understand how much power you're consuming. It lets ComEd directly communicate and understand what's happening with the power at your house and how the delivery is going. And if you download the ComEd mobile app, you can actually track your usage on a daily basis,
Mm-hmm.
Weekly and monthly, and see how you are consuming power within your home. So all that is possible through the enhancements on our smart grid system.
Awesome. I love that. And as I'm sure a lot of our listeners know, might be wondering, it's neat that ComEd is getting into the space with the smart grid, but how does it benefit the customer? I know Chris or Querida, if you want to join in, but how does this benefit the customer?
Yeah. And Chris spoke to a little bit about to how the smart grid benefits the customer, because, we'd like to think that things that are smarter work a little better for us. And so, right now you're getting your electricity. ComEd has pretty reliable electricity. But we know that people are thinking of new types of technology. They want electric vehicles. They want to, have electric vehicle chargers, heat pumps. All of this different technology that we're starting to use means that we're going to need more electricity. And we have pieces of equipment that are a lot more sensitive. And so we can't have the, variations that we may have traditionally seen because it may affect the equipment. And so with the smart grid being able to communicate a little faster, a little better, to see things on a smaller scale, that means that, that keeps your stuff safe. It means that we don't have to build a whole bunch of infrastructure out. It means that we can just use special sensors and special types of technology to say, hey, this customer over here may have some sort of issue. Let's go check it out before they have an outage. Or, we can pinpoint exactly where the outage is instead of having somebody go out and walk around to try to figure it out. And that means that you won't be out as long. And so, all of these enhancements make it so that you get better, more reliable, quicker responses when it comes to any issues that you may encounter. And it makes it so that you can, start using these different new, interesting technologies without having to think that we would not be able to support it. So, it does all of these things. It supports, and it also allows you to do new and different things on your end.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get into the ComEd and dive more into the ComEd beneficial electrification pilots, the pilots, Chris, that you had mentioned at the top of the program. But we'll get into all of that right after a quick sponsor break right here on SpecialChronicles.com. To let you all know that support for Special Chronicles comes from our presenting sponsor on the program is the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program, the country's first energy and solar efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities like myself. And there's actually 30 of us ambassadors. You can learn more at SpecialChronicles.com/ComEd, SpecialChronicles.com/ComEd. And we also have all of the resources on this series, and we will be adding more resources that Querida and Chris are giving us. We've got all the resources not only are in the show notes for this episode, but also are on SpecialChronicles.com/ComEd. So if you all head on over to SpecialChronicles.com/ComEd, you can find links to all the resources. So with nice, I think one of our previous guests, Querida and Chris have said that it's like we have a catalog of resources on SpecialChronicles.com/ComEd. So with that, since Chris, you had briefly mentioned at the top of the program about the pilots, can you tell us about, because this is just like a lot of the topics on this series. I've been with the EnergyForce program for now. This is my 7th year, but a lot of these topics is new to me, and I know will be beneficial for our listeners too. That we're able to give our listeners, because a lot of times when we're out in the community at events, we only have a small amount of time to talk to the customers, but at least this series gives the community a chance to dive a little bit more deeper into some of these topics. And that's the great thing about a podcast is you can listen anytime, anywhere. And so with that, Chris, can you, and then Querida, you can chime in as well, but Chris, can you share with us about the ComEd beneficial electrification pilots? What are these pilots all about?
Yeah, sure can. But I'm actually going to defer to the expert because Querida is leading this project for the entire company. So she's the expert on all of the pilots. I'm an expert on a few of the pilots. So I'll defer to her to lead, and then I'll chime in. So yeah,
awesome. Awesome.
Okay, don't let him get away with that, guys. He has lots of subject matter knowledge, but I'll take it. So yeah, I don't know if everyone's aware. CEJA is something that you may hear, and it is an acronym. It stands for the Climate Equitable Jobs Act. It's something that was signed into law by our Governor Pritzker and I always get the year wrong. I think it's 2021. And so as a result of that being signed, and the whole idea behind it was for us to realize, hey, there are these new technologies. Air quality could be better. There are lots of carbon emissions that are not great for the health of our communities. What can we do to bring some of that down and mitigate that? And so as part of that act that was signed into law, there's also something called the Electric Vehicle Act. And as part of that, any utility that services more than 500,000 customers had to come up with their own, what they call beneficial electrification plan that would explain what they would do to support the goals of getting emissions down, getting more electric vehicles on the road, and other beneficial electrification technologies. How can we help customers get those things and support them in their transition efforts? And so as part of our first beneficial electrification plan at ComEd, there are 8 pilots that we needed to run. And so they run the gamut. Chris is running a pilot on rideshare because we know a lot of people don't necessarily own cars or drive all the time. And so when it comes to electric vehicles, they might not buy one of those either, but they might want access to one. Like maybe you need to go to the doctor, maybe you need to run to IKEA, get you some new, drawers. And so, he's running a pilot that, has it so that there's an electric vehicle that you can rent for a short amount of time whenever you need it. We have other pilots where, right now the grid, we deliver power to you. But sometimes with those batteries that you have in your electric vehicles or the big batteries in school buses, you might be able to send power back to the grid and help us out when there's a need for additional power because everyone has their lights on and they're playing video games and doing all this other stuff. So there's a pilot to look at how the power can flow back and forth between the grid and the customer. There's another pilot looking at installing curbside charging so that people who aren't able to install it at home can still have access to it. So all of these pilots are meant for us to look at ways of helping the customers have access to different technologies that you may be hearing about. But because we're a utility, we have to figure out how to connect them. So there's that technical part. But we also have to talk to customers to figure out how they want to see it. Like, is there a certain place that would be better for you? What about cost? Are you concerned about cost? And what can we do when we're building out these programs to consider that? And so that's what the pilots are all about. That's what we mean when we say beneficial electrification. All that means is that things that used to be maybe gas powered are not going to be electric powered. And it's beneficial because it's going to bring down greenhouse gases and make air quality a little better and all these other things. But, how can we do it in a way that's, least cost to the customer, but also works for ComEd as the utility?
Awesome. Chris, did you? I know you deferred this to Querida, but since she did say that you, I want to bring it back to you since she said that that you're already championing the rideshare program. Can you? And just because we want to not keep this episode that long, so we won't dive into to all the pilots, but we'll make sure to put links. We'll get to those links at the in the final segment in just a few moments, folks. But Chris, did you want to elaborate a little bit more on the rideshare program that Querida said that you are champion? Just since she said that you also have a wealth of experience.
Of course, of course, and yes, rideshare is very near and dear to me because with this pilot specifically, we are focusing in on an economic justice and R3 communities, which is restore, reinvest, and renew communities. To invest in EV charging and EV car adoption. Many times, the EJR3 community may be left out of the conversation on adopting electric vehicles or making incentives available so that the high costs associated with switching from a gas powered car to an electric vehicle is possible for everyone. So we took this challenge to figure out the best way quickly and efficiently to distribute as many electric vehicles as we can within these specific communities. And so we've partnered with a rideshare company to provide the vehicles, support customers with using the vehicles, insuring vehicles, making sure they're clean and ready to be utilized, and make sure that overall customer experience is top notch. And we're also working with different EV charging companies to demonstrate some new technologies on how to install charging quickly, efficiently, and new ways so that maintenance doesn't become a big problem. Sometimes if an EV charger goes down, it may take a significant amount of time to get the proper pieces, to repair them, to figure out what's wrong. And we want to mitigate that risk and make sure that these cars that we place to the community are available, they're charged up, and they're ready to be utilized by our specific customer target group. We're excited to launch this, and we have two potential sites within our Bronzeville footprint where our team has worked to install community curbside charging to provide charging within the residential community is big. Right now, many of the charging options are downtown or South Loop. There's not many options the further south and the further west you get in the city of Chicago. We're working to put that charging in place so that EJ communities have access to charging. And what we've seen so far is that people are using these chargers. There are EVs in this community, and we're providing electric charging close to them, reliable, and at a very marketable rate so that customers are able to use this and charge and keep on moving. And so we're working on just placing some cars there. We're working on placing some cars in Rockford, which is our second community of the future. And we're working with local governments. We're working with small business owners. We're working with anybody within these communities who wants to install some charging and let us test out this pilot in which we want to see like the age-old Field of Dreams line. Build it, they will come. If we put the charging in place, if we place EVs in the community, will the people use them? Will customers enjoy this service? And we're going to test that. We're going to test that to the end of 2025 and build a case so that rideshare companies will see the investment outside of downtown areas, outside of typical areas where they may place their vehicles, but thinking outside the box and increasing the footprint of rideshare availability. Those are all some of the things we're going to be testing and figuring out if this can live without the support of ComEd. But also empowering local communities to get involved in these type of programs that are available. So we're going to, work really hard over the next year and a half, so to speak, and really get these pilots off the ground. And hopefully at the end of these pilots, we'll see that Ride sharing is a great viable option for people who primarily may not have the means to buy, operate, and own and maintain EVs as an owner, but try this new way out of sharing the ride. So
Awesome.
that's our swing at this. So hopefully it works out. We'll come back and let you know how it went.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully next year we can for season 8 of the series. Hopefully we can bring you back on to and now that you have, and I've had other guests that have come back on as well. So if you want to come back on in 2025, feel free to reach out and would love to. Well, we work with the EnergyForce program to figure out topics, but yeah, we'll have to figure that out. As a way to transition to kind of the follow up question dealing with the customer. Chris, what you were saying about the I don't have an electric car, but a family friend of ours does, and I remember a couple years ago we were going to, I believe it was a Bills game. It was either a Bills or Sox game. I forgot one of those, and I remember. We were in their electric car, and there wasn't a lot of, like what you said, Chris. There wasn't a lot of places to charge, and so with that family friend, that ComEd customer, who's a friend of my family's, using that as an example. How can these pilots, whether it's the one that Chris that you shared or the few Querida that you had just talked about, but how can these pilots benefit the customer like my family friend with their electric car? Going down, I know the football season just started, and you're down to Soldier Field to go catch a Chicago Bears game. How can these pilots, such as the curbside charging and the rideshare, benefit the customer?
Yeah, great question. I'll also, not just outside of these pilots, ComEd in general is your biggest advocate for charging installation and understanding how that process works for you as a residential customer. And one thing we do very well is we have teams that support this. You can call. I'll make sure I find that number for you so you can put it up in your notes. But we have incentives available for charging, putting in charging installs in your home, especially if you may be a low-income customer. We offer some extra incentives to help alleviate some of the burden of installing home charging. We have a marketplace in which you can actually purchase an EV charging unit. So you can, partner with ComEd to make these changes and updates in your home, especially as you transition from being a gas-powered driver to an electric driver. What better partner can you have than the electric company to help guide you through that process? So you can always call us at 1-800-EDISON-1 and talk to a customer service representative and just, let them know about what you're thinking, what you want to install, and they can help guide you through the process of what those incentives might be to help with any kind of installations you might want to do within your home. As far as the pilots, curbside charging is one of the newer concepts of putting charging in the public right of way, which is nice because you can just park your car on a residential street and charge. You don't have to worry about finding a private lot or paying additional fees and parking for charging. while you were at Soldier Field, our Bronzeville Chargers are just about a 5-minute drive south of where you were off Lakeshore Drive. So, like, we're in your specific example, you can utilize those chargers if you chose to maybe wait out the traffic leaving Soldier Field going back to your home. But we're looking to making the burden of charging easier on the customer, whether it's home installation, whether it's public charging. We're just trying to be better liaisons between the customer and the actual change in lifestyle of how you live your life using an electric vehicle. And it can be quite a challenge if you don't maybe have a single family home or you live in a multi-unit building. Where are you going to find charging? And so that's where we're coming in to kind of test to see where we can install and work with business owners, work with municipalities or small local governments to figure out the best place for these charging. And Querida may want to jump in on this because that's actually her pilot she's running is curbside charging and some of the great benefits of that. So I'll pass it over to you.
No, you said it all. The benefits. I mean, you did a really wonderful job of just pointing out the different ways that we're trying to support. It's all about access. We find that a lot of times when we're talking about equality, what's equitable, oftentimes that means that people just don't have access to things, whether that's the knowledge, the know-how, the resources to get it done, the cost may be too high. All of those different things we're trying, we have a knowledge campaign. If you go to our website, we actually have a toolkit. So you can, crunch some numbers. There's a calculator to show you how would this benefit you in terms of cost if you change to an EV vehicle. We also have, our pilot programs. If you don't know where to begin, you come to us. We'll do the design, we'll do the construction, and then, you can see how the process goes. And then, like Chris said, we have rebates. And then there are rebates, according to where you are. We're talking thousands of dollars to help you on the cost of the install or the cost of the vehicles. And so, in a lot of cases, when it comes to benefits, we're talking, benefits in all the different areas that you would want to see to help you make the decisions to whether or not to electrify and if it's for you.
Awesome. Speaking of I want to just before we move on to the final segment, highlight, Querida, something that you had said, which about the calculator, that was just something that this morning.
Oh no, Daniel. Can you hear us?
We
lost you for a second. Are you there?
Oh, yes. I am still. Okay. Yes, I am still here. Can you? I think the. Oh, wait. The video.
I can hear you.
Let's see.
I can hear you.
Okay. You can still hear me. Okay. I think my video might have. Yeah, I think I might be.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh no, you're back. There we are. You're back.
There we go. I'm back. Well, good. Hopefully, maybe. Okay. There. I think I'm back now. So with that, what I was saying, Querida, you had talked about the calculator, and this morning, when I was over my oatmeal breakfast and watching a couple comedy podcasts. Yeah, I also had my email inbox up, and my dad, who's the business manager at Special Chronicles, he had forwarded me in a ComEd newsletter that highlighted one of the calculators, and that's something that we could just briefly mention that for those. Any of the, whether it's the pilot programs or any of the smart grid programs, do you guys have any of these highlighted in the ComEd newsletter that gets sent out each month to customers?
Not the pilots, only because they're meant to run for a very short amount of time. As Chris said, they end in 2025. And we could only have a small amount of customers participate, so we didn't want to put it too far. But there is a pilot website too, can give you a link to so that people can access it and read more about it.
Okay. Awesome. I'm going to take one final break. When we get back, we will talk all about the. Sorry, my watch is going off. I thought I turned the notification. I swear, I thought I turned the notifications off.
Couldn't even hear it.
With that,
Couldn't even hear it.
Yeah. It was. Anyways, with that, when we get back, we will get into all about the community of the future programs, as well as some resource links for all of you listening, and some final thoughts at the end of the program with our guests, Querida and Chris, right here on SpecialChronicles.com. We will be right back to let you all know that support for Special Chronicles comes from hopefully it is, there we go. I think it's being a little slow today. There you go. Support for Special Chronicles comes from United Airlines Bridge Disability Business Resource Group, connecting people of all abilities. Learn more on United's commitment to disability inclusion for employment and travel at specialchronicles.com/United. That's specialchronicles.com/United. And with that, Querida and Chris, just as we wrap up in the final few moments of our time together and let you get back to the rest of your Monday and beginning of the week. Can you tell us about the community of the future programs and what this is all about?
Yeah, I'll take that one. The Community of the Future program is just a collaborative effort between ComEd and the communities that we serve to develop, execute, and evaluate projects and programs that really facilitate clean energy transition. We do some work with climate resilience as well. And the work we do prioritizes just energy equity, public health, economic opportunity, and just like creating as great of communication as we can do between ComEd and the communities we're serving. Sometimes the ComEd's doing so much all the time that sometimes we don't always best communicate that work to our communities. So we help to alleviate some of those burdens of reaching a great customer base and community stakeholders to try and spread the word of some of the programs and offerings that ComEd is doing. And our work is strategically placed within Bronzeville and Rockford, the whole city of Rockford, to try and like test out how this communication and collaboration can work. So yeah, that's pretty much our why. And so I'll just tell you a little bit about the programs that we are currently working on and some that we've wrapped up. But we've done some work with air quality monitoring within the city of Rockford and Bronzeville. And now we're looking to expand that project in some other communities within the BE pilots. But some of that work started within the Community of Future group. Another program we're really excited about is our agricultural pods. And so basically what they are greenhouses, and they are temperature controlled, they're Wi-Fi enabled, and you can really run and operate this greenhouse through Wi-Fi, through your phone, through an app. You can water the plants, you can change the lighting in the greenhouse to accommodate different types of crops that you want to grow. We have 4 of them out right now. We have one in DeKalb, Illinois, that we've partnered with the city of the University of Northern Illinois University, and it's currently supporting their dining hall and different initiatives they have on campus to provide food to the students. We have one in North Lawndale, which is just slightly west of Bronzeville. We have one in Bronzeville, of course, and then we have one in the community of Inglewood. And they are all supporting different local urban farming efforts that are happening within the city of Chicago so that they can continue to produce crops throughout the year. It's pretty rare for Chicago to be this warm in September. We're looking at like almost 90-degree days.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that's not going to last in Chicago. We know that the hawk is coming.
Mm-hmm.
The frigid cold is coming. And so we want to be able to still provide nutritious, farm-to-table food to the community. And this is one of the programs we're testing that out with. Another program we have is our community microgrid, which is really the grandfather of all of these programs in which we've invested so much into Bronzeville. We've built a microgrid that's self-sustaining and that will be able to deliver power to the footprint within Bronzeville, so that if anything ever happened to our main power system, this microgrid would be able to deliver power to those people in Bronzeville. It's working, it's operable, and it's doing well. We're still testing out this new kind of technology. We're one of the leaders in the industry on microgrids, especially in the United States of America. And so that's one of the larger investments that this team has been able to support. We have one of the programs that we're very excited about is our community charging. We called it's our MUD charging project that stands for multi-unit dwelling, so home apartment buildings that have 3 or more units. And we partnered with the Department of Energy to test out community curbside charging. And so that program is going pretty well. We've got 5 chargers out in the community of Bronzeville that are actively used and available to the community. And last, well, I'll give you 2 more programs. The last one out is near and dear to me because it's one of my programs. We've done some next generation HVAC piloting where we've put in some state-of-the-art HVAC systems. So that's your heating and your cooling system in your home. And we partnered with one group in Bronzeville and one group in the city of Rockford to completely upgrade the heating and cooling systems to a VRF system, which stands for Electric Variable Refrigerant Flow System. And we installed this, our first unit at the historic Quinn Chapel here in Chicago in Bronzeville. Very famous building. Martin Luther King met there. It's been a staple in the community for over a century at this point. But it's never had air conditioning. And so we are able to, help pay for and install and work with the construction and development of that project to put in a whole new heating and cooling system so that this 100-year-old church can now actually have events in the summer and actually, be comfortable for the community and the people attending meetings and services at that facility. We've also partnered with the city of Rockford to help with the Boys and Girls Club, one of the local Boys and Girls Clubs in Rockford. They had such a terrible, I guess I shouldn't say terrible, but it was an awful that had one part of their building at 85 degrees and another part of their building at 30 degrees. And they could not flush in the summertime. The 80 degrees, they had to open the windows and still run the air conditioning to try and get that temperature to be great. They also weren't able to have air conditioning in certain parts of the building. And that building serviced so many kids, especially like coming home from school, needing a place to work and be safe between school being out and parents being available for the afternoon, evening routines. And we've been able to just help them to completely redo their system and provide like just temperature controlled throughout throughout this building. And they also, renovated certain parts of it to just, present this beautiful, updated space for the kids in that area. So we do a lot of cool things where we get to just partner with community groups and provide the resources that ComEd wants to test these pilots. We need to test these pilots. We need to understand how this technology works and how best to implement these things. Mm-hmm. And so we get to find those unique partners and bring the technology to them as a benefit to helping us to test these things. And the last project I'll talk about is our resilient canopy study. So you were telling me earlier that you did a wonderful podcast on trees and the benefit of shading as a mitigation risk for temperature controlling. And so we took it a step further and actually did some future projections to see what strategic planting of trees might benefit the community, so that, in the case that temperatures rise in the future in 2030 and 2050, we can figure out now how best to plant trees and landscaping to make sure that apartment buildings and small homes, single family homes, can have the proper shading in place to try and mitigate the risks of your cooling bill going through the roof, because you've got to run your air conditioning at a higher rate because temperatures outside are hotter. So if we place some trees around, the community and the properties, we can best, mitigate the risk and hopefully, control the demand of electricity use throughout the upcoming years as temperatures may and probably will continue to rise. So we're just doing some really cool things to try and make sure that not only is the community benefiting today, but that we're putting things in place for the future so that the work we're doing now will still be impactful for years to come.
Awesome. This has been very beneficial for our listeners, and I know I've learned a lot. I'm going to also include, in addition to these resources that we're just about to mention, I'm going to in the notes for this episode, I'm going to also put links to if you all want to go back and listen to the Powering Lives education episode, but then also the Trees for You and Me episode. We'll put links in the notes for this episode, but also Chris and Querida, you shared with me a few resources links. So if our listeners want to, I know we in 47 minutes we've dived briefly into the smart grid and the pilot programs, but if our listeners want to learn more, where can for those of you watching the video podcast on our YouTube, you can see it on the screen, but for those of you listening to the audio podcast, look down below, not if you are driving or walking, but like when it's safe to do so. I always have to say that because we have listeners who might be commuting or driving, and we don't want you to get in an accident by us telling you right now to look down. So, but with that, Chris and Querida, what else of the resource links that we can point our listeners to?
Yeah, so if you want to learn more about the future programs, which we just launched our new website, so proud of it, ComEd.com/COF, which stands for Community of the Future. If you want to learn more about the smart grid and how it works and how it benefits the community, you can go to ComEd.com/SmartGrid to learn more information about that. And lastly, if you want to learn how to take advantage of some of the incentives and discounts that ComEd offers customers for home upgrades, small business upgrades, you can go to ComEd.com/rebates. So yeah.
Awesome. So we'll make sure to put all those links in the notes for this episode. Wherever you're listening, when it's safe to do so, you can look down below. And if you enjoyed this episode, we have more than 40 episodes of our EnergyForce series. And all you have to do is, again, if you're listening, if you're watching this on your phone right now, you might want to share this to your TV or to your computer so you can be able to actually scan this. But we also put the link on here so you can scan and listen, or you can stream more than 40 of these EnergyForce series episodes at specialchronicles.com/EnergyForce, or follow, like Querida did, follow Special Chronicles wherever you get podcasts. And but probably the easiest that a lot of our probably a lot more of our newer listeners have found is by simply open up the camera on your phone and just scan this QR code, and you can listen to all of our EnergyForce series episodes, including I'm sure, Chris, you will be after we jump off, you will probably be going to listening to that Trees for You and Me episode. Fun fact, there are a couple of tree jokes in that episode. So I'll let you a little entertainment in addition to being informative. But I'm sure, I think, Querida, you might have mentioned the Polling Lives Education episode with our guest, Lisa. I think, Chris, you might have mentioned that as well. But yeah, we've got tons of good content for all of you. So I know we will post in 51 minutes, so this will be a little bit less, hopefully less than an hour. So we should wrap it up now. You have any final thoughts on your overall time here today on the Special Chronicles program that you'd like to share with our listeners?
No, we visit our links. There's a lot of good information there. I know a lot of people think that electrification and all of these words have to be hard to navigate, but there are lots of resources out there, money, information, where it's supported to make decisions.
Awesome. And Chris?
Yeah, and just if you want to know more about what's happening at ComEd, please go to ComEd.com through the website. Call us at 1-800-1 ask. And we have a lot of resources available, and we want you to take advantage of it. It helps us when people take advantage of everything that we're doing. We're working hard on these projects and building out these programs and pilots. But if the customer doesn't take advantage of it, we don't really see it full potential. So please inquire services. It's here for you. We're here.
Awesome. And so we will, I think, Chris, you had also said that there's a phone number that you will send me. So I'll make sure to put that in the description as well. But yeah, we'll make sure for those of you listening, the phone number, I believe, for the smart grids that we will put in the notes. But then also we've mentioned the 1-800-Edison-1 number a few times on past episodes, but we'll make sure to put that phone number as well as these resource links for all of you that want to learn more, to call and get in touch with any of the staff at ComEd. So with that, we got one final question. But let's go ahead and roll that bumper to introduce that final question. Oh, wait. That was the wrong button. Here we go.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising. Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Difference.
Our demands are
equality,
dignity,
and the recognition of our shared humanity.
We will not stop
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
more divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution
is inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
So we don't just want our listeners to consume this content, but we want our listeners to actually take action into the communities, bring inclusion, bring not only inclusion, but bring the smart grid and these ComEd resources into their communities. to make society better. So it's not just about being entertaining and informative on this podcast, but actually now finally in the final couple minutes to take inclusion into it. And I've been asking this ever since I came back from the 2019 Special Olympics World Games in Abu Dhabi. This final question that gets to the heart of what this podcast is all about. And that is, what does inclusion mean to you? And you can answer that either related to the ComEd Smart Grid or just in society overall. Querida, we'll go to you first, and then pass it over to Chris about what does inclusion mean to you.
Sure. And I think for me, inclusion ties into kind of the programs and pilots that we talked about today. Inclusion means that people actually have a voice, and we're not just listening, but we're acting for what we're hearing, and we're making sure that there is a seat at the table for everyone. Inclusion means that we all feel as if we have the space to communicate our needs, and understand that those needs will be acted upon and taken into consideration when decisions are made. And so, we hear a lot about lip service, people wanting to hear your feedback, but oftentimes you feel as if your feedback is important if no one follows up on it, if there's not a real effort made to make decisions, or if there's no conversation being had about the things that we are not providing. And so for me, inclusion means that we're making sure that everyone feels as if their voice is being heard, and that they're incorporated into decisions, pilots, programs that are being formulated.
Awesome.
And I'll say, inclusion to me is having a voice at the table when decisions are being made. One of our big purposes of our community future make sure that the community is included in a decision. We're not sitting saying this is what we're going to do for you. Take it or leave it. We're engaging in conversation. This is a concept we're thinking about. What do you all think? You can support. Would you like to be included in our conversation? Part of the planning. Within what we're able to do, we include our community as a part of our decision. We have an example. We have an individual on our Brownsville Advisory Council who's very invested in electric vehicles and electric vehicle charging. He's, professionally, he's working in that space to make sure that those initiatives are being worked on by the city of Chicago and by the aldermen and the neighborhood. And he's worked very hard, very long, many years. Why wouldn't we have expertise at the table with us? Those planning decisions. So we just want to make sure everyone's voice is being captured, that we're listening to it, and that we're using that information in our policies. And that's really inclusivity that we're looking for. We're trying very hard to continue to present and operate within the work we're doing.
Awesome. I know Querida had to drop off because we are past time. And so thank you again, Chris and Querida, our guests, talking all about the ComEd Smart Grid program and the Community of the Future and the pilot programs. Thank you again for taking the time for the past hour to share with our listeners. And for those of you listening, specialchronicles.com/plus to access our bonus content and to support this podcast. And we've got a Mosto and tons of other resources. Make sure to tap that follow button so you don't miss a new episode every week. We got some exciting episodes, including coming up all the way from Ireland. Is coming up in beginning of December. And so stay tuned for that exciting episode all the way from across the pond. And so thank you again, Chris, for taking the time to come on this our Special Chronicles podcast, EnergyForce Series, Season 7, Part 9. I think that's right. Yeah. So thank you again, Chris and Querida.
No problem. Thanks for having us. Looking forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And until then, everyone, take care and have a great week. But take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smrokowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for absolutely for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks, as always, to our business manager, Adam Smrokowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smrokowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people